Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. I'm Roy S. Johnson. This is my son over here, my son Edwyn. And we're doing this because we have these great conversations about sports every Sunday. He's very passionate about sports, knowledgeable about sports, and thinks he knows more about sports than his daddy. So we just thought we'd let y'all in on this, have some fun, particularly before the Super Bowl. A lot going on in sports. So we're starting this so you can have an inside look at this intergenerational passionate conversation about something that's important to a lot of people, and that's sports, but mainly showing how it integrates with life. So, Edwyn, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Daddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Growing up with a father who covered sports, growing up with a mom who was a big sports fan. I know you played sports a lot when you were growing up. Your sister played sports. Talk about what it was like to grow up in that household, and when did you really develop a love for sports?
So I really developed a love for sports in fifth grade. I was around 11, 12 years old when I started getting into basketball. It finally clicked in after all the years of taking us to the Garden for Knicks games, all the time seeing you on TV, because I understood that. I know you were on TV. You were a journalist. My mom was a journalist as well, too. You know, mommy was a Steelers fan, diehard Steelers fan. You were a Cowboys fan. You were a Sooners fan. You went to Stanford. You know, just all of those things at one point finally clicked in as I got older, because, again, I was not into sports when I was really young. Looking back at it, of course, I wish I was, because there are a lot of things I look back at, a lot of games that I missed of great players. But it came in later on, so I started getting into basketball. Even though I was swimming when I was younger, I played soccer on Saturdays when I was younger too. But that love really wasn't there yet. But once I got into basketball, and I went to basketball camp the summer after fifth grade, that's when I started getting into it. And that's when my love really got there. It really developed and it started.
For you and your sister, we encourage you both to get into sports, because we both believe, and I believe, that sports has a lot of advantages. You learn a lot from sports. You learn teamwork. You learn leadership. You learn how to overcome adversity. You learn how to win as a sportsman, but you also learn how to lose. You had to balance that always with academics, with education. We always emphasize getting your homework done, doing the things. What was one of my phrases? Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. And that's just something that we emphasize. So for young people today, share with them the importance of not just participating in sports, but also balancing it with academics.
Well, sports is important because, again, and I said this earlier, it teaches you life lessons. It teaches you, like you said, teamwork. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you to push yourself. It teaches you to not give up. It teaches you work ethic. All of these things are keys you need in life, for whether it's jobs, relationships, business, or any other type of personal relation, marriage. But you need those things because you have to learn how to balance work as well as fun, as well as sports, and knowing which one comes first, having to be able to do your homework and study at times, maybe when you are tired. And then after that, that's where the athletics takes place. And after that, all those responsibilities are done, because that's what sports is. Sports is just another responsibility, like school is, and it's just another added one onto. So just having those done, and then you can do what you want to do when you do have the free time.
Absolutely, and I was chuckling because I was trying to remember too. Also, when you all were growing up watching sports changed a lot. You saw the first African American coach, Tony Dungy, win the Super Bowl. You saw a lot of black coaches. You saw a lot of black stars. Whereas, going back in my experience, a lot of that was different. So talk about how sports help you see the progress of African Americans, not just in sports, but out of sports, and how sports history, black sports history also relates to black history for you.
Well, again, I was younger when Tony Dungy won the Super Bowl. I do remember you talking about how important it was, and how both Tony Dungy and both the Bears coach, two black coaches. So one way or another, one was going to win to become the first black head coach to win a Super Bowl. And I knew it was big, but I just was not into at least football yet. I may have been into basketball, but maybe not football. But just, again, when you talk about, of course, Michael Jordan, when you talk about Muhammad Ali in terms of the icon he was, everything he did outside the ring, and then you talk about, you know, what Muhammad Ali and Bill Russell and Jim Brown and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar having that meeting and what it meant to, again, black people have always been the superior athletes, which they still are today. And again, the NFL and NBA are predominantly black. But then in terms of just the coaching part too, and just being able to see black coaches who are winning championships. And again, Tony Dungy did it. I remember 2008, the Boston Celtics did it with Doc Rivers, you know, and now you're having even more have won championships too, despite there being so less and few black coaches, and even few now in the NFL, but not that many in the NBA too. And I hope, and again, I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. That's something that obviously needs to change, and there has to be a process that in the hiring needs to really change. That something has to happen. So, and again, Roger Goodell had a press conference a couple of days ago. I wanted to watch it. I didn't, unfortunately. I would definitely like to know what he said and what is actually going to be put in place to do that, because a lot of people do not like Roger Goodell for many different reasons. Some I understand, some I do agree with, but it is something serious. And again, when even this Super Bowl, the Super Bowl halftime show that is coming up, I've never really been big on it. And again, the one that Beyonce did a few years ago too with Bruno Mars, that one was a big one too. But this one right here, and again, you're talking about Dr. Dre, you're talking about Snoop Dogg, you're talking about Mary J. Blige, you're talking about Eminem and Kendrick Lamar. And again, these are some of older artists, but nonetheless, they still are the MCs, the people who we have listened to for the years, and for them all to be there. And again, we're talking about continuing to show black excellence to the country, to this world, through the times that we are going through. And that is why they did. And again, Eminem is one of the best top MCs, as a white MC at that too. He's great. I do like him. He's not, I don't know if some of you are ever heard of Paul Wall, but Paul Wall was the first white rapper that I got into. I got into him before I got into Eminem, in all honesty. And again, he's from Houston, Texas, but just to continue to see that too. And it's going to continue to happen, and you're going to have people that do not agree with that. Some people don't like hip hop, don't like rap. Some people don't like seeing black artists too performing. But again, the most popular genre right now has been for the past, what, 25 years or so, is hip hop, is rap. That is the most popular genre. And that is just another thing that African Americans, black people have influenced in this country. It's so many things that we have influenced, and it's going to continue to happen. And again, sports, music are part of it. Food, whether you're talking about soul food, barbecue, southern food, that is another thing. And the list goes on. And it's not even just this country too. It's honestly the whole world too. It's around the globe.
I love it. I think people are seeing why we're doing this. We're letting you guys in on the conversations that we have every week. We usually talk every Sunday, talk about sports, talk about life, and we just wanted to share this with you guys. So let's get into some specifics about sports. We're coming off the NBA trade deadline. The biggest trade that was made was obviously between the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden going to the 76ers. In exchange for Ben Simmons, and other players were involved. There's been a lot of controversy with Ben Simmons because he hadn't been playing. Nobody really knows what's going on behind the scenes with that amazingly talented young man. What did you think of that trade? What does it mean for Brooklyn, and what does it mean for the Sixers? The Sixers, who are now in the number 5 spot in the standings. Does this give them a chance to win the East? Does this make them a contender? Is Doc Rivers in a position now to win another ring?
It does make them a contender, and yes, Doc is in a position to win another ring. But the question that is there is, can both James Harden and Joel Embiid play together? Because they both need the ball. Now, James Harden is in another position where he has to make a sacrifice, because this is Joel Embiid's team that he is going to, and Joel Embiid is playing on an MVP level. James Harden, coming out of shape again, gaining weight, having to play these games by himself, which is why he wanted a trade. He was unhappy because they came there, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, they all came because of Kyrie. They spoke to Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie. They came together. James Harden came later on. You're not holding your end of the bargain because of what you believe in. And you have the right to believe whatever you believe in. I will say that. But at the end of the day, just from the basketball aspect, you're not there.
You let your team down, right?
You're trying to do everything by yourself. And then KD goes down. He's been out for the weeks or however many month or so that he's been out for. And you're doing it, you're not happy. So I understand in that regard where James Harden is coming from. So to request a trade, I get it. Some people could say he should have toughed it out, but you're not in a position to compete for the simple fact of you have to understand you cannot win a championship or even come close to that playing away games. Now, if the mandate changes, which it might later on come to playoff time, then maybe he'll be there for the home games. But if he's not, Brooklyn is not winning the East. They're not winning that. And it's just going to be another year, okay, again. So it was a good trade. I definitely think, and to both degrees too, because also Brooklyn needed bigs too to rebound too. So they needed something. What you get with Ben Simmons, you get a versatile defender at 6'10". You have the 6'10" point guard. And again, he might not be playing much point guard anymore for the simple fact that Kyrie is there. Kyrie going to have the ball in his hand, even though Kyrie is a scorer. Ben Simmons is a distributor, so trying to see that aspect. But again, Ben Simmons being 6'10", you know, are you going to put him at power forward, which he can play that. He can play some small forward too, but a versatile defender, you get that as well too. And then, you know, just being the third option because he doesn't want to score in the fourth quarter. So he wouldn't have to as long as Kyrie and KD are healthy. But again, depending on when he does come this year, if he does play this year, you know, again, you're talking about KD coming back and being healthy and Kyrie staying there. There might be times where he's going to have to be the second option. So that's just something that he has to prepare for too. And again, the whole thing with his mental health, my thing is I do not question that if there really is a mental health issue with him. My only thing is when you were getting paid, there was no issue. There was no talk about it. When you were getting your contract, when you before the playoffs and you were all-star, but now all of a sudden because of the way that you played, I mean, you're 25 years old. Yes, you're young, but you're a grown man and you're a professional athlete. You have to have tough skin, especially you're talking about you're in Philadelphia. Those fans, whether you're in Philly, whether you're in New York, and I've heard mixed things about LA fans. Some are tougher, some are really tough in LA, whatever. But the point is you're a Sixer. I mean, you look at guys that have played in that franchise before you: Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, Allen Iverson at 6', 195, the little warrior that he was. You're 6'10". Okay, you chose not. You were scared to shoot the ball. You were scared to go up for a dunk because you didn't want to go to the free throw line. You were afraid to miss free throws. Okay, fine. Well, take your criticism. Yes, Doc said he doesn't know if they can win a championship with you at point guard. It wasn't like you were being aggressive and you were missing free throws. You chose not to do that. So yes, you're going to get criticized. You should have took that as motivation and got in the gym and worked. And again, supposedly he did that. What I don't understand is he didn't want to play in the Olympics for Australia for whatever reason, because you're competing every day. You're competing and playing basketball. That's going to get you better. Why would you not want to play in the Olympics instead of just being in the gym by yourself? You're competing. So that didn't make any sense to me, but you should have took it like that and came back this year with vengeance, working on your free throw shooting, working on your mid-range game. Because everything else, you obviously have the defense. You have that as a versatile defender. You have the athleticism. You're able to distribute the ball. You have good handles, you know, but that right there, I mean, for you to play like that, yes, it was unacceptable, but for how you handled it, yes, you're not good. You lost a lot of respect from a lot of people, from your former teammates and just people, whether, you know, Shaq said what he said about you, he has no respect. Well, yeah, you deserve that, but for you to handle like that, this is why. So hopefully this is what he needs mentally. This is what he wanted, a fresh air to restart. We'll see what happens. But I just know, again, whenever he does come, if he does play this year, because he's lost a lot of money.
Yeah,
He has
I agree
lost
with you.
a
In the
lot of
short
money.
term, I think this is better for the 76ers. If they can, once they integrate Harden into the lineup, he and Joel Embiid, are going to be a nice big two, and they've got some talent around that. They obviously have a great coach. For the short term, it's going to be exciting to watch them. This is a big question mark for Brooklyn. I mean, for Brooklyn, this was almost like blowing up. I think it could be because Simmons is such a wild card. We know he has talent. We don't know where he is mentally. So it may be a couple of years before we really see what the impact of this trade is, like most trades. But right now, I think it's a win for the 76ers and a big old question mark for the Nets. All right, let's move very quickly in a couple minutes, talk about the USFL. Spring football is coming in March to Birmingham. What is spring? I mean, you weren't around when there was spring football before. They're going to play all their games in Birmingham. It's really a TV play. You're a big football fan. Are you excited to watch spring football? And if you are, why? And if you're not, why not?
Well, first of all, I wasn't around for spring football. Spring football is not anything new for me. But when I think of spring football, you're talking about spring teams having scrimmages, having practices, getting their first couple of plays in and just doing their early plays.
Just for college. College is really mostly that has spring football, right?
College, yes. College, right. And some states for high school. They do have it too, some states. But you're talking about a league now that is doing that. Well, if you miss football, I think it gives you the chance to finally just see some more football too. Because again, you're going to have basketball on too. And again, I'm going to probably be more into basketball now that, the NFL is pretty much over. I mean, just have the Super Bowl on Sunday. So, but I'd definitely like to see what type of athletes we have, what type of competition, and so forth. I'm very interested to see that. But regardless, you still, again, you have NBA. Later on, you're going to end up having baseball too. Even though I don't watch baseball like I used to, I haven't watched baseball, a whole lot of baseball.
You like a whole bunch of Americans that haven't been watching baseball for a while. But there's some interesting things about baseball. We'll talk about that once we get into spring training. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the USFL. It's a TV play. Most of the games are going to be on Fox, on NBC Sports. You got two big networks behind it. And if spring football is ever going to work, this is its best opportunity. So it'll be interesting to watch, and particularly for those of us in Birmingham who will be able to go to games at the new Protective Stadium. All right, Super Bowl 56. That's what we're here to talk about. We're here to do a preview on that. We're here to get your thoughts on what's going to happen in Super Bowl 56. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Rams. I mean, Edwyn, were these teams that anybody really could have predicted would be in the Super Bowl? And are they the two best teams in the NFL that are going to represent the league on this day?
The Rams are the real deal. The Rams were expected, and because of the trades that they did, they had to make it. Not just make it, they have to win it or it's going to be a bust. But if you look at the moves that they make, if you look at getting Odell Beckham Jr., if you look at getting a Von Miller, they have a very good, and just Matthew Stafford going there, being at this point in his career, year 13, unsuccessful years in Detroit with Megatron at that too, I may add. And again, he's always been a good quarterback in the sense of mechanics and ability from Georgia to Detroit till now. But it never, some quarterbacks, players, they don't have success for whatever reasons, whatever pieces may not be their coaching, etc. And again, you had Calvin Johnson, but you did not have success, which is why he retired when he did at 30 years old, back when I was still
couldn't take it anymore. You couldn't take it anymore.
He couldn't take it. And again, you're talking about a receiver too,
right? At
30 years old. As big as he is, he's going to take punishment, but you're a receiver, not a running back. Like how Barry Sanders, he retired when he did, and he may have had a few things left in him. But again, as a running back, just being tired of being unsuccessful, not having an offensive lineman, still having to work as hard as you did and still do what you did. Because the one thing you talk about is, what if Barry Sanders had Dallas's offensive line?
Right. And well, let's get out of Detroit and go back to LA. Let's keep talking on the Rams. What about the other side of the ball?
Hold on. I'm not done.
Okay.
All right. So you want to talk about the Rams? Okay. The Rams ideally are the best team in football, are one of the top 5. Cincinnati, they played extremely well all year. They did. Joe Burrow, for him to get to this point, because you got to remember, he tore his ACL. I forget what point towards the end of the season, whenever he tore his ACL, taking a hit from Chase Young. he took that hit. For him to come back and play, because right now he is the closest thing to Brady right now.
Okay, wait a minute. Rewind that. You say Joe Burrow is the closest thing in the NFL to Tom Brady right now.
Yes, for the simple fact that you're talking about leadership, you're talking about ability to throw the football, you're talking about confidence, and then guess what? The chemistry that him and Jamar Chase have, which is pretty much a whole Tiger thing. You're talking about from LSU Tigers to now Cincinnati Bengals. Mm-hmm. It's a Tiger thing, it's an LSU thing. It's the chemistry that they've had, and it's there. And again, Jamar Chase just won Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. And do I think he should have won it? In a way, yes. I do think, again, me as an Alabama fan, would have loved to see Jalen Waddle win it because he's had between 60 and 90 catches this year. You know, and even Devontae Smith setting rookie records, franchise record for the Eagles. But no, it was well deserved by him. And again, just bringing that into the playoffs too. Mm-hmm. So it's they really elevated. You're talking about year 2. You're talking about Joe Burrow being able to do this in year 2. And again, we're always going to go back and look at the highlights from the Heisman year, the national championship, beating Alabama, beating Clemson, which was crazy because again, the year before that, his junior year when he started, it wasn't there until Ed Orgeron changed that offense up. And I was just looking at him where he's not the most talented guy. Wasn't back then, but you might have to think a little bit different now because he looks very talented now. Mm-hmm. And again, I thought Tua was the better quarterback. Thought Tua should have went first in that draft. But again, Joe Burrow was the healthier one. So he went and won over Tua. Cool. But now I really have to give him a lot more respect because I could see him good as one thing, but at this good though, and this early in his career though, mm-hmm. and I think that's the one thing too he has over Matthew Stafford too. On top of that, now the team that has the best player is the Rams, which is Aaron Donald. Okay. Aaron Donald is to me definitely a top five defensive player right now, and honestly maybe of all time. Is he on his way to being probably maybe the best defensive player of all time? Not just at his position at the D-line, but period. Yes, and that falls in a category of Reggie White, Deion Sanders, even at his position, J.J. Watt too, L.T. Lawrence Taylor. So that's a big list.
Wow, that's a lineup right there. You talking, you know, as the old folks say, that's high cotton. You know, you're talking about a Hall of Fame. Every one of those names you mentioned, I think, are Hall of Famer. So you give him that much credit. It sounds like you're saying he could be a game changer in this on Sunday.
Well, he is going to be a game changer. He's been a game changer for years, but even this Sunday too, he is going to be a game changer because for the simple fact, one, he's a shorter D lineman. He's not 6'6", he's around 6'1", 6'2". So for his ability to get lower under taller linemen that are 6'4", 6'6", and just be able to play every single line up and every single thing on the defensive line, and you put him where there are going to be weaknesses to use speed and strength, and then you have Von Miller coming off the edge too on top of that. Plus, you're talking about the matchup of Jamar Chase versus Jalen Ramsey, who is ideally the best corner in all of football because Jamar Chase is not, he's a speedy guy, not the biggest guy. Well, Jalen Ramsey, one of the bigger corners, is 6'1", I think he's between 205 and 210. So I think what Joe Burrow is going to have to do, he's definitely going to have to attack the outside. I'm sorry, not Joe Burrow. Matthew Stafford is going to have to attack the outside of the Bengals defense with Eli Apple and the other corner because I think that's the weakness. The inside seems to be the strength. And again, he might throw one interception. Joe Burrow might throw one too. I mean, they both can't throw too many. But again, the better defense is the Rams. And Cincinnati's defense, they are good. They are real. Mm-hmm. But you have an even more superior defense with LA.
All right, let's wrap this up. You know, we can't wrap it up without making a prediction. So sounds like you got two good teams, two solid offenses, two solid defenses, no fluke that they're there. Do you see a high-scoring game? Do you see a low-scoring game? And what do you think is your final prediction?
I do see a low-scoring game, but I won't say too low. I would say 28, 32. I would say around that because there is going to be a lot of defense played in that game. Mm-hmm. And for some of you guys, some people seem to not realize that the game has changed so much now. It's more on offense than defense. But to be able to see, defense is taking over again in the Super Bowl in these games. I mean, for somebody like me who is a physical person like that, it's big for me. It's going to be a very big defensive game. But again, you have offense too. You're going to talk about being able to run the football. You're going to talk about being able to throw the football. So there are going to be points on the board. But it's going to, those teams are going to have to fight for every single point, even the 3 points they get to. But to get into the end zone, which is pretty much what they're both going to have to do to really seal the deal.
Mm-hmm. So who's going to win and by what score?
I think the Bengals are going to win. And okay. I don't like to say that because I'm a Ravens fan again. The Bengals are in our division, the AFC North. They beat us twice this year.
You still want to be a hater. It's like
I want to be a hater, but I think the Bengals are going to win.
Okay.
I'm thinking they have 35 points.
Okay, so
that's what I see, and the Rams thinking 28. Okay. It might be a little bit less than that. Okay. But that and again, I think that just depends honestly on Cincinnati's defense, because I have the feeling that Joe Burrow is going to be able to produce offensively throwing the football. They do have to run, and again, they have Joe Mixon at running back. He is a good running back. I think Cincinnati's offensive line, they are in as opposed to the Rams. The Rams, they do have a good offensive line, so that's the thing too. But the one thing I would say is Joe Burrow being on the field a whole lot longer is going to be, I think, is going to be the problem for the Rams if they cannot get him off the field. And
okay, you say Cincinnati 35, maybe 31-28, right? So 35 yes. for the Bengals, and then the Rams 31-28, something like that. All right, I'm gonna go. One thing we haven't talked about, this game is in LA. This is one of the rare times that a Super Bowl team is playing at home. Now, it'll be a bit of an advantage. It helps them off the field. I don't know where they're going to rank, where they're going to sleep and things like that, but they'll be in their comfort zone because they'll be able to replicate the things that they did for every home game. The stadium is controlled by the league, so it won't be as if there'll be an overwhelming number of Rams fans there. The Bengals will have access to just as many tickets as the Rams, but I imagine it's going to be a home field advantage for the Rams, and I think that's going to make a little bit of a difference, particularly in the fourth quarter if it's a close game. I agree with you. Great offenses, but also some great defenses. I see LA being able to pull it off, and I'm going to say 28-24. I'm going to go a little bit fewer points than you. I think it's going to be a good game. It may not be as great as some of those playoffs that when it came down to the last play. Yeah. But I think we've got two good teams and an opportunity to see a good game, and I'm excited about it. And maybe when it's done, we can come on and talk about what happened and why, and look forward to next season. So, Edwyn, I'm glad that thank you for joining us and joining me. We're going to do this again. We're going to let people get inside our Sunday conversations, talk a little bit about, not just sports today and tomorrow, but yesterday, how it fits in life, how it changes our lives, why it's important. So you have a good day. Watch the game. Everybody enjoy the game and watch it, and come back and join us on Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. See you later, son.
See you later, Daddy.